What is going on, guys? Andrew Acevedo here, back with another stream. As you know, we got the hockey. We got the Seattle Kraken expansion draft predictions. As always, if I seem to be talking about hockey, the man to my right always seems to be. Jimmy is back. Jimmy, what's happening?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited for this draft. I think they're going to have a very good team. And I don't know, your channel's been growing a lot. I've been keeping eyes on it. So congrats to you.
That is the biggest cap of my ass. You don't watch my content. Besides the point.
I watch and like every video. I might have it on mute in the background, but I make sure to give a view.
That's the point. That's my point. Don't watch my content. Piss off. So let's before we get started with Seattle, we did have some pretty big movement, obviously, before the roster freezes. We had some moves made for teams trying to clear some cap, trying to get their final protection lists done. So big moves. Your team obviously made a few moves. Two big ones. One, probably to overpay for a winger, and the other one, who the hell is Brett Howden anyway? So let's start with the Rangers. The Rangers trading to the trade for Barclay Goodrow from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a seventh. What was this? Oh, the hell is he? Just for a seventh, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
My notes are fucked up. Yeah, also, it was reported after the fact that there is a deal in place with Howden. Goodrow. That Goodrow has a deal in the Chris. Well, you said Chris Kreider kind of at least a 6-year deal, probably more of a Tanev contract, I would think. Because if they give him Kreider money, that's
The rumor is that teams are willing to offer him 6 years. I don't know where Goodrow's at, how long he wants, or how the Rangers are willing to give him. 6 years, depending on the cap hit, it wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, I'm personally, for every contract, I believe is shorter the better as a GM, but obviously the players don't always want that. If they give him 6 years between, I know they're not going to get him for $2 million, but that would be like the dream, chef's kiss, you know. Chances are he's probably going to be around $3 million, 3.5, and anything more than 2 or 3 years is going to be tough. Personally, I'd rather just let him walk at that point. I think. I mean, it's only his 7th they're burning, so you know.
Yeah, I mean he's 28 now. If you give him a 6-year deal, you're going to pay him to his 34. So, yeah, and his kind of style of play and being the grinder, being out, he was able to pot a few goals with Tampa Bay. Obviously went over at the deadline in 19 before the first cup run. He finished with 26 points, 8 goals, and 18 assists, -8. But this year, going back to back, freaking Tampa, 55 games, 20 points again, 6 goals, 14 assists, playing that bottom 6 for Tampa. And again, he's a solid player again. But like I said to you, you don't trade him and pay him like a top piece because he's a finishing piece. Look at Tampa Bay. They get embarrassed. Then they go out and add a guy like Barclay Goodrow, and you add some depth and toughness. That's the final piece. He's not a guy you go out and pay the top dollar because it's really, he's not that. You're not going to get points. You're not going to get offensive production. You're going to get grit and sandpaper on your bottom 6. So if the Rangers give him the Brandon Tanev, the Pens are playing him on the bottom 6, and some people say that contract is extremely overrated. How he's played the first couple. Yes, he does still have 4 years left of it, but if he keeps playing to anything like he is now, the Pens are going to take that, even at that cap hit. Obviously, the other move you move. Oh, you want to go? You got?
No, go ahead.
After that, you moved Nick Howden. I saw on Twitter everyone was happy. Brett Howden was moved to Vegas for a 4th, and Nick DeSimeone, a 4th round in 2022. Literally know nothing about it, but I saw Rangers Twitter was happy. So you're gonna have to inform me on this one.
All right. Well, the defenseman they traded for, the DeSimeone, whatever, I don't even know his name. They already said they're not re-signing him. He's literally just there to something for the league that they needed to move around or whatever. So it's really just Brett Howden for a 4th. I'm okay with it. Brett Howden, he struggled offensively. I mean, he did help defensively a little bit. He was on our PK, and I do think the PK hurt a little bit when he was out this year. With that being said, though, we have other pieces that could fill his role and hopefully do better, just overall defensively and offensively. And I think we're going to see Morgan Barron step up from the AHL this year and probably take either 4th or 3rd line, depending on how the rest of this offseason goes. And then they protected Kevin Rooney for the expansion draft, so I think that solidifies him as basically our 4th line center, which means we didn't have a spot on this roster, and we got a little bit of return for it. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I thought it was a straight salary dump. You clear some extra money. Maybe some of that money does go to Barclay Goodrow. I didn't know what his contract was.
He was on a rookie deal. I think it was like $1 million or whatever. Like it wasn't even
All right, gotcha. Let's see what's up in the chat, Sergio. What's going on? The Kraken new expansion team. Obviously, nobody cares about hockey, 100%, but I do appreciate it, Sergio. Vancouver, big COVID cases, really haven't done much this year. And Rob Manfred, what's going on? All right, let's talk. I guess we did have finally one of the big RFA defensemen also got in his extension. Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars, 8 by $8.45 million. That's the benchmark now. Cale Makar, Adam Fox. I think is Quinn Hughes now also an RFA?
I don't think so.
I believe Quinn Hughes is an RFA. I'll look that up. But the initial reaction of Miro Heiskanen and where do the other top defensemen or young RFA defensemen say to this?
He's an RFA. I am extremely concerned. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to say Norris. There was a Norris winner in that, and I don't know what team he plays for, but Norris champion or winner.
I just gotta say, I am genuinely concerned for the kind of contract that Adam Fox is going to be asking for, and I really hope that since he wanted to play for the Rangers and basically only the Rangers after being traded to Carolina, I really hope that he's willing to take a little bit of a sweet hometown discount. You know, maybe even if it's just the same as Miro Heiskanen, I'll be happy because honestly, he could probably go in there and ask for $9+ million, 9.5. So anything less than that, 8.5, less than that, I'll be happy. But I know it's not going to happen. But you never know.
well, that's the benchmark. Kind of like how quarterbacks get paid, kind of like how baseball players get paid. Lindor had to beat Tatis, and he beat him by $1 million. These players, especially now, when there's a benchmark set, they have to hit it. So at minimum, now Fox is saying you're at least giving me $1.5 million more than that, and Cale Makar as well. Cale Makar probably is going to get the most out of the four, even though Fox does have the Norris. Makar has more of the offensive skill than all of them. Quinn Hughes is pretty solid defensively, Miro as well, but Cale Makar is probably the best player of the four, so he should get paid the most, even though the Norris did go to Adam Fox. Let's go to the blockbuster. We'll save the Penguins move for last. Ryan Ellis finally gets moved. Nashville finally decides to move Ellis in a big three-way trade with the Vegas Golden Knights being active as they always are, acquiring Nolan Patrick and Nashville getting a solid prospect in Cody Glass and Philippe Myers to replace Ryan Ellis. What do you think? Philly's defense was abysmal this year. Carter Hart got left out to dry, and as you saw, his development was tainted. So the Flyers had to realize they had to get some better defensemen. They get maybe one of the more underrated, even though he's older, maybe one of the more underrated defensemen.
For Philly, I think it's a good move because I think it gets rid of a struggling young guy for a position of need, which is defense. I think Ryan Ellis can maybe fill that role that Niskanen had left at the beginning of this last season. Maybe help out Provorov or whoever he plays next to and really kind of solidify that decor that they had there and just kind of bring some of the younger talent that they have back to reality and help them focus in big game situations, not get nervous and not make mistakes. I mean, the Rangers scored 9 goals on them. They need a guy
twice.
in that locker room.
Did they twice? Yeah.
Twice, yeah. They need a guy in that locker room that, after they maybe give up a couple to go in there and settle them down to make sure they don't keep giving up more and, make them realize that they're still in this game. I think the veteran presence will really help. For Vegas, we clearly saw that they had a huge gap in center this season. And I think that Nolan Patrick is maybe an attempt to help fill that. I know Nolan Patrick hasn't really lived up to the expectations that he had. He's also been dealing with a lot of injuries, though. So maybe a little change of scenery could help him. And same thing with Cody Glass, another guy with a lot of hype, another young guy who just wasn't seeming to living up to it. So maybe in Nashville we'll finally be able to see him do something, So I think it's a good move for everyone all around.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan Patrick was the number 2 pick behind Jack Hughes. Obviously, the Devils thought they had the best pick. They took Hughes, going into that year.
Nico Hischier,
yeah, sorry. Jack Hughes was the year after. The Devils got so many picks, I don't know. I forget who they have. They're gifted every year, it seemed like, thanks to Taylor Hall. But yeah, he 30. His rookie year, 30 points, a +1. I mean, that's decent. But then ever since, 72 games in 18 and 19, 27 points, and then last year a -30 in 52 games, only 9 points. So again, yes, you maybe see the draft pedigree. Maybe Vegas decides they can maybe develop him better. Look at Marchessault, William Karlsson. They can develop players in Vegas. I mean, they're kind of like, if I want to make a baseball reference, they are kind of like the Tampa Bay Rays, where they get more out of less. Cody Glass is, that was there. He was the 6th pick in that draft. When Nolan Patrick went 2nd, he was the number 6th overall pick in that draft class. 12 points in 39 games his rookie year, a -7, and in this past year, 27 games, 10 points, a +6. So, you look at a player like that, it's just kind of flipping. They're both 22 years old, So, not one guy's younger. It's just kind of a flip of, potential, and maybe one can develop somewhere else and the other develops there. That's kind of maybe what they are. Ryan Ellis is what like I said, the Phillies defensive core was abysmal. Ivan Provorov went from being one of the most underrated defensemen to atrocious. So maybe you put a Provorov and maybe a Ryan Ellis can let Provorov be more of that offensive guy that he is great defensively, but it allows him to be more of that offensive guy. Again, I keep mentioning the Chris Letang and a Brian Dumoulin, where Dumo is that rock that allows Letang, or in this case, would be Provorov, to go out and just be a little more aggressive, make some more plays offensively. But again, it's a good move from Philly. Vegas gets, some depth. They're in that Eichel, maybe potentially in the Eichel in the sweepstakes for Eichel. Maybe they go out and Mikael Granlund could potentially be in there. So they need a center. They need some center depth. Obviously besides William Karlsson, they really don't have a lot of good centers. That's come back and bite them. They have some great wingers with Mark Stone being the best defensive two-way player in the league. Yeah, eat it, Bergeron. William Karlsson's there, Marcia So, Pacioretty. They have plenty of wingers, but they needed some center, and this is maybe a guy that can finally fulfill his potential. Obviously, as a Pens fan, we got to talk about the trade that happened. I knew it should have gotten its own video, but right now, again, I just wasn't in the mood yesterday after what happened in D.C. Jared McCann was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Philip Hollander in a 7th. Again, for the Penguins, you're losing a guy who is inconsistent. He is a very streaky player. When he's hot, and he has one of the best shots in the league. But when he's cold, he is you don't see him. He's invisible. And, you were going to lose him. It was going to be him or Brandon Tanev potentially in the expansion draft. So, they traded him to protect Tanev, and it ended up not even protecting Brandon Tanev. So, see it as what it is. Philip Hollander was a 20-year-old prospect. He's 20 years old, solid prospect in the Pens system. They get him back. Obviously, they traded him for the Kasperi Kapanen trade. So, the Pens and Leafs continue to continuously just trade back and forth with each other, and the Phil Kessel trade tree continues to expand. Again, it's a solid player. The Leafs are going to maybe lose Alex Kerfoot. We'll get to that very shortly in that draft predictions. But again, it's a great move. We'll be as an outsider, not Pens fan. What is your kind of reaction to the McCann move?
I thought it was a good move for Toronto, and I understood it from the Pens' point of view. Honestly, I think Hollander, he's been really well in, I forget what league he's playing. I don't know if he's playing in the A or in Europe, wherever he is. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe gets a chance to crack the lineup in the Pens' bottom 6 this year. And like you said, he's a solid prospect. And as for the Leafs, I think it just solidifies that regardless of who Seattle takes in this draft, they're going to have someone to fill that third line gap that was probably going to be taken. And like you said, we're going to talk about it in a bit coming up. And Kerfoot seems like the guy's going to go. But now if Kerfoot does go, they have McCann. And McCann's also exposed. So if Seattle decides to take McCann, then they get to keep Kerfoot, which I know they love Kerfoot. So I think it's a good move. Smart move.
As I see the ending of the Roman and Edge matchup. Okay, as always. Besides the point, I think obviously we also can if you want to talk about the Islanders moving the Ladd contract, finally getting some money off the books.
Throwing as many picks as possible.
Had so many draft picks to get rid of that contract, but finally the Ladd contract is gone. God, that was stupid. So finally, let's.
Before we continue, the Islanders, I think if I'm not mistaken, they have almost $16 million cap space now after dumping Leddy, Ladd, and they're probably going to lose either Bailey, who's another $5 million, or Eberle, who's $5.5 or whatever. They have a lot of cap space. I think they're actually going to try to make some moves. A couple of weeks ago, people were saying they'd be lucky if they get to keep all the people they had to re-sign, but now it's like they get to re-sign the people they have and maybe go for someone big like Tarasenko. If Landeskog actually does hit the open market, they might have some chances here.
Got a question in the chat. What are your comments on Carey Price? So I guess we could talk about before we do get into the picks with Seattle. It's interesting, they're able to they let him loose. One, he waives his no move for Montreal to keep Jake Allen. But now it comes out that he might need back surgery. So it's also a kind of thing of what? Knee surgery. Sorry. Yeah. Knee surgery. Sorry. Is it something that Seattle's willing to do? Do they risk it? That's a big cap. It's a huge contract. I think it still has like 3 years left, like 10.5. I'll pull up cap friendly.
It's more than 3 years, I think. I think it's like
more than 3 years? Oh shit.
Or 4.
I'll pull up Montreal right here. So it is something to think about. Montreal also has a lot of guys that are pretty solid exposed. So it depends if what Seattle wants to do, if taking the risk is worth it. Yeah, he still has 5 years left. You're right. Yeah, 5 more years. at 33 years old. So he has some age behind. He'll be 38 at the end of the deal. Yeah. So, is it worth the risk? I don't know. I don't think they'll move him. I thought originally when it first came out, I'm like, oh, that'd be a kind of like their flower being able to get a really good goaltender to start off. But then obviously now today with Freeman saying that he needs knee surgery, it's kind of a death point. Jimmy, what do you got?
Yeah, when I first heard it, I was like, that's crazy. They could start with JVR, Duchesne, maybe Landeskog, Tarasenko, whoever, then Price and goal. They could have a crazy team to start at the bat. But then I saw a lot of things saying that they weren't going to take Price. And then this morning I saw that was like 50-50. And then the injury stuff came out. So I'm back to thinking that they're not going to take him. Honestly, even if he wasn't injured, I'm not sure if he's fully worth the cap hit. He had a great playoffs, but the past couple of regular seasons, he's not been the Carey Price that we were used to seeing back in the mid-2010s. And I'm not quite sure if he's really worth that 10.5 AAV he is as right now. And I feel like they're really in on Drieger as well. And I just feel like if they're in on Drieger, that's probably who they're planning on being the number one guy. And it doesn't make sense to bring in a big contract if they have Stephen Drieger.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. I mean, again, Carey Price is the name. Again, like I said, it could have been their version of Flower, except a lot more expensive than what Flower was to Vegas. But again, just with jerseys, just to get going, and hell, Montreal goes on that run. They're not going on that run without Carey Price. So, could they see lightning in a bottle? Maybe if he was healthy, maybe does Seattle take him? Speaking of, finally, let's get into what we expect. Let me rephrase that. This is what we would do. And this is kind of our predictions, but also what we would do if we were the GM in Seattle Kraken and what our rosters would look like. And we're going to go division by division. Obviously, we're both in the Metro. We're going to start with those two teams, obviously. And we'll work our way through. We'll go through the lines, and then we'll just kind of see what compares on Wednesday when the draft happens compared to see who was closer in predicting the Vegas Golden Knights, Seattle Kraken roster. Ready to go?
Yeah, I'm all set.
So let's start it off like I said, in the Metro, and let's start because this is my channel. I'm not letting you go first. We're starting on my team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. A lot of guys, a lot of potential guys. The Pens paid a lot of their guys. You got like Marcus Pettersson, who is a younger defenseman. You've got Jason Zucker. They ended up leaving Brandon Tanev available. That was the big thing that they wanted to protect Brandon Tanev, but they ended up not protecting him. So that kind of sucks. Also, Zach Aston Reese, and they ended up protecting Tristan Jarry and letting Casey DeSmith go, which could be a cheaper backup goaltending if Seattle doesn't go a certain way. Casey DeSmith is a pretty solid option, but for me, if I was Seattle, I'd go Jason Zucker. Maybe this was me just being a Pens fan and hoping that contract gets off the books to clear some extra money. But for me, it's 5.5 for a guy that has put up 30 goals. And right when he came over to Pittsburgh, it looked like he could have been a very valuable asset. But then good old Mike Sullivan takes him off Crosby's line, and then, stuff changed. What do you got?
Before I go on, let's just caveat this. Like, we're not in the GM room, so we don't hear any potential trade offers to not take a certain person. So these are just people that are strictly available. I'm not considering trades that teams might offer to not take a person or to take a person over someone else. But I picked Pettersson. I think he's a solid young defenseman. He's only $4 million for 4 years, so it's not super long term. He's only 29 when he finishes the contract, and it's not a crazy cap it. I think he's a guy who's been around a winning atmosphere that could really bring in a little bit of a mindset, a proper mindset, even though he's only 25 into that locker room. Although I think they're going to have plenty of guys to do that with anyway, as we will talk about as we get through later on. But I don't think I'll hurt for what I picked as a semi-young decor, and I think it'll just be helpful. And on another note with the Pens, can we talk about how they didn't protect DeSmith and decided to protect Jarry?
Yeah, I understand. I understand why you did it, but I don't. I would do the other opposite. It's the safest thing for you because let's say they do take Jarry. Okay, you clear up an extra $3.5 million. You cleared up another $3 million. You'll be over like $7 million if you want to go hunt Frederik Andersen. Which God, please do not go hunt Frederik Andersen. John Gibson, or one of the Vegas guys. That's who I want. I don't want Frederik Andersen.
The return of Fleury.
Or Leonard. I don't care which one. I'll take either one. Or John Gibson. Also, if Marcus Pettersson does go, it opens up for my boy P.O. That would, I'm not mad with Marcus Pettersson moving. It would clear up a spot for P.O. Joseph to finally get an everyday lineup. would be on the bottom pair, and also could be a cheaper spot. Can clear up some money. I'm not against that. Moving on, I guess we'll go to your favorite team. We'll be a little quicker. Let's a little more rapid face here. But
Yeah.
we need to explain. The New York Rangers.
this
I'll let
one's
you go
straightforward.
first. It is your team. Who do you got?
This one's straightforward. I'd be surprised if they pick someone else. It's Julian Gauthier. He's 23. He's a decent bottom six winger. Probably should be. I mean, he had a lot of moments on the Rangers where he showed some things that he definitely could be. He has a little bit of issues with penalties, but if he can clear that game, he should be a very solid, hardworking, hard to play against bottom six forward for most teams.
Yeah, I mean, I know my enemy, but I don't know them well. I'm not, deep down in their bottom six and their prospect pool, and I don't watch every game. But for me, it was kind of just a positional fit where I said originally I did have Tony DeAngelo, but I'm like I don't want to get canceled, so I'm going to pick Keith Kincaid just as an extra goaltender. Just needed a third goalie on the roster, so and it seems like Kincaid is always on these expansion drafts, or one is always getting traded. So I wouldn't be surprised if Keith Kincaid again was a pick for the Seattle Kraken. Run through again, Philadelphia Flyers, a team we both hate, we both end up destroying. I'm gonna go Shane Gostisbehere. I know Ghost has turned into a ghost at times. Obviously, had a really good rookie year and has tampered off as his career has gone on. I just think he needs to get out of Philadelphia. Their whole decor, Ivan Provorov was a great player last year, and then this year, just that whole core was ruined. Any guys that they had, they've ruined. They ruined Ghost. Now Provorov is bad. So I think he just needs to get out of Philly, get somewhere else, and maybe Seattle can get back to that point-producing offensive defenseman.
Yeah, I was thinking about Gosper. I think we were talking about this before stream. I was going back between him or Pedersen, which one I wanted. If I picked Gosper, I was going to take Zach Aston Reese from the Pens, but I ended up going with Pedersen. And from the Flyers, I ended up taking JVR. And as for what we were saying about Gosper, he was actually on pace for 40 points this year. So maybe his defensive game was struggling, but his offensive game seemed to have picked back up, which are, probably more what he's known for. But yeah, for Philly, I took JVR. It only has 2 years left. I think he'd be a good, strong top winger to take. And I don't know. I don't think you really go wrong with it. It's only 2 years at $7 million. It's not that bad of a cap hit. It still leaves you a lot of room in the future when you have some of these younger guys that I ended up picking when they need contracts. So that's why I went.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends. If you went Pedersen, I went Gosper. Moving on to the Devils, they actually left a pretty solid top 9 forward, I guess you could say. Andreas Johnsson, produced with the Leafs. Got a decent pay cut, pay raise at $3.4 million. But again, he's a quality top 4 winger you can put in your top 6. I actually had him in my top 6 on the lines, actually on the first line. Just shows how bad the left wing position was on this team. If you think Johansson is our first line center or left wing, but again, guy can put up goals in the top 9, produce solid enough defensively, just kind of fills what you need.
For the Devils, you had said before stream that you heard that they seemed like they were going to take Johansson. I didn't see that, so I would have picked him if I had saw that, but I didn't see that. So I ended up actually picking Will Butcher. I figured he could fit nice into that second pair. He's a good offensive guy, and I figured if you pair him next to a more defensive guy, who I will talk about later in this draft, I feel like he could really make a good fit. And as a Rangers fan who has played a lot against the Devils over the past 2 years, where he has really seemed to pick up his game, he's a dangerous guy to worry about in that back end.
Yeah, he's a really solid defenseman, and again, top 4D. You never can go wrong with getting a top 4D, even just for a trade chip. If depending on how I went more youth in my decor potential than actual. Well, I actually got some good solid guys. Speaking of another rival, obviously we're talking about the Metro, the New York Islanders. Back-to-back years seems like they're in the Final Four, and they left a couple of very quality wingers available. After trading the Ladd contract, clearing a ton of money, it looks like they're going to clear even more money because I go Jordan Eberle. Penguins killer. Send him to Seattle. I hope I never see him again. That's all I got to say. Send him to Seattle and go.
And this is another one of those picks that I went back and forth on. In my heart, I really badly wanted to get rid of Eberle, but I feel like Bailey is probably who they're going to pick. It's what I've seen. And on top of that, I think although Eberle's offense you can't doubt, Bailey's definitely a little more better of an all-around two-way kind of guy. And I mean, their contracts are almost identical. I think Eberle makes $500,000 more, so that's nothing to really worry about. I think just Bailey's the better overall round kind of guy, and I feel like they're going to pick Bailey, actually. But either way, it's a tough loss for the Islanders.
Send Eberle the fuck out of here, please.
I hope so. I hope so.
Another good team that kind of disappointed this year, the Carolina Hurricanes. They're back in the Metro. Who did you go with? We'll let you go first on the Hurricanes.
Just don't check that.
Oh, you didn't sort it by
Carolina,
division.
it's
Come on, guy.
a young defenseman who's actually looking really good. I'm sorry. Jake Bean. I took Jake Bean. All right. I don't know. I'm always pretty high on this guy. I have been for the past couple of years. I feel like he's been really developing well. And I just think he's a really good guy who could instantly probably slot on that bottom pairing and then probably see himself move up into that top four after another year or two, depending on how contracts and signings go and whatnot, injuries. I think he has a really good future. He's young. He's 23. He's got plenty of time to keep getting better, and I really think he's an NHL caliber defenseman as is.
Yeah, common minds think alike. I also have them picking Jake Bean. He's an RFA, so again, you're gonna have to give him a contract. And with RFAs and UFAs, finally can bring it up because we actually drafted one. We left cap space overall wise, so just assume it as they'll sign with whatever, however much money they have left to get those deals done. Again, Jake Bean, left shot defenseman, defenseman and young. I went more potential and youth for my defenseman to just bring in. So I also have Jake Bean from the Carolina Hurricanes. Smookin trying to finish off the Metro, another one of our division rivals, the Washington Capitals, and I went right shot defenseman Nick Jensen. He's just one of those guys you just needed a bottom four D man, solid enough in his own zone, can produce a little bit offensively. Jensen wasn't a huge cap at $2.5 million. I can't yell. I wouldn't be mad if that's my second pair. So I just went Jensen for an extra right D and just a good, capable second pair defenseman.
Nick Jensen, great pick. Another person that is one to consider for defense is Dylan. Dylan would be another good pick for defense. But I felt like my defense is pretty solid, so I went with the forward. I chose a nice, solid bottom six forward who's the good defensively, can be on the PK, Carl Hagelin. Why are you laughing like that? He is turned out.
I knew he was going to fucking bring him. I saw him and was like, this is going to be the guy he's going to pick.
And listen. He is a very solid two-way forward. He gets you some points every now and then. He doesn't have the speed he used to have, but he's very good in the zone. He's the guy you can have out there late in the game when you're up a goal. He's going to be on the PK probably. They do select him. I don't see how you can go wrong with him. With any of those three people I mentioned, Jensen, Dylan, Hagelin for Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's finish off the Metro. And again, team that's back in the Metro after the weird division alignment, whatever the hell you want to call it. The Columbus Blue Jackets. I think we both have the same person here. Obviously, it was reported 2 days ago that Max Domi was going to be unprotected, and that's what I think we both have. Again, first, I wouldn't say he's a great first-line center, but I do think he is a top two, a number two. Right now on my team, he is going to be the first-line center, but I think he'd be a great second or third-line center on a good team. Again, a lot of problems in the locker room, it seems like. Everywhere he goes, he seems to get traded or just exiled from the locker room. So, again, even if you just want to take him to trade him. So I went Domi, and you did as well. Why did you take
Domi? I picked him because I think the reason he had a tough year in Columbus, but let's face it, Domi's more of an offensive player, and in Tort's system, there's no such thing as offense. And I think that's a large part of why he struggled. And it just seemed like a very toxic locker room as it was. I mean, Laine was yelling at coaches. PLD acts out of there right away. Seth Jones wants out of there. Werenski apparently wants out of there. It just does not seem like a good locker room. I think I'm a little surprised that they left him unprotected, considering that they only just got him last offseason. But yeah, I think he could be a very good second line center, like you said. And I think in a more offensive system, he could actually really shine, kind of like how we expected to see him shine in Columbus and like how he was in Montreal a bit.
Yeah. So we finished up the Metro, one division down. Let's go to the Atlantic Division. And let's start off with the Trolls themselves, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I believe we both have the same person here. We brought it up earlier. It's Alex Kerfoot, center, $3.5 million. Great two-way player, great penalty killer. Again, spark plug offensively. Kind of just like a gritty guy as well. He's a pest to play. I say gritty, but he's just a pest to play against him. Can produce in your bottom. Yeah, he's a pest to play against. Great guy to put in your bottom six to produce some points. Good penalty killer. Anything else?
No, I think you got it all. He's just a good all-around bottom six forward.
Yeah. Moving on to the cheaters themselves, the Houston Astros of the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll let you go first on these cheaters.
I might get yelled at for helping them out, but I picked Andre Palat. I feel like he's a good top six
Why?
winger. I feel like he's a good top six winger that could really help out bolster this offense. And just like Vegas, it seems to be a little more of a defense heavy draft, although potentially not, depending on how risky you want to be or how much cap you want to take on. But I think Andre Palat is the right move there. He's on again. He's another guy. He only has 1 year left. He's 30 though. But he can definitely produce in the top six. You can play there, and I think he's something that can help them out.
Yeah, I'm not helping them out. I'm going youth and defenseman. I'm going Cal Foot.
Cal Foot, yeah, Cal Foot. How did I know that was coming?
They block him. They keep trading for solid defensemen and cheating. So they keep, putting on tons of caps over the cap every day. So take a young guy not to help them out. And Cal Foot, again, has potential. He's blocked there. They go out and get David Savard. They go out and add every, call it quality third pair defenseman and just letting the kid play. So, give him a chance to finally have some time in the NHL.
Yeah, no, he definitely deserves it.
So going from cheaters to a team that just sucks, the Ottawa Senators.
I actually don't remember who I picked from them.
They are a forgettable team, and I went with Vitaly Abramov, winger, cheap deal, young kid, put him in the AHL. It's really what I went there. What's the potential?
I actually went Dadonov.
Why?
Why not?
You love overpaid players, but okay.
It's only 2 years. They have plenty of cap space. All right, it's only 2 years.
No wonder you don't have much cap space compared to me.
I have 4 people with 3 or more years. Everyone else is gone after this year or the next. All right, they have plenty of cap flexibility, and it's another guy who could make them good right now. Slot into the top 6. He's a bit of a veteran guy. He's been around the league. He can score goals.
God,
he was stuck in Ottawa. All right.
You love some overpaid veteran. I'm surprised you didn't take Matt Murray. We'll leave it there. Go to the Boston Bruins. Oh God, that contract. Thanks, Ottawa. Appreciate it. Let's go to Boston. I went Curtis Lazar. He's always been a player that I always liked. I thought in Ottawa he was pretty good, and I thought he just needed to get out of that kind of toxic environment. And they're just not great at developing players, because they let a lot of great players go. So I would think once he got out of there, he would have kind of hit his stride. He's still a great bottom 6 forward, and I do have him playing in my bottom 6 center. He can play some wing. He's good defensively. Kind of just a good kind of quality pick with a low cap hit.
I actually went Jeremy Lauzon. He's a player that really caught my eye this year. He's a hard bottom pair defenseman. I mean, he's young. He's 24. He can still move up and keep getting better. And I mean, he really caught my eye this year. I saw him on a couple of other people's list as well for the expansion draft. And I think he would be a very good pick as a young guy to slot into the bottom pair instantly and have the chance to move up. He's a hard player to play against. He's physical. I mean, that's Boston style. We all know that. And I think he would be actually a really good pick for them defensively. And like I said, you can instantly slot into that bottom 6 at 24 years old. That'd be the bottom pair.
Right. Again, yeah, I'm not hardcore studying these guys, but also good youth always helps. Yeah, and here we go. Montreal, the big team. Will we take Carey Price?
We already talked about
Hell no.
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin is my pick here. Again, another guy, big contract. Don't get me wrong. He does have a pretty big contract of $5.5 million. Could play top line winger, top 6 forward, or top 6 winger. Minutes. Good here. Solid player. Again, moved from Tampa to Montreal in the – who was he traded for? Mikhail Sergachev. The Sergachev deal. But again, definitely a solid player. Again, goal scorer, and just let him just pretty much just go on the top 6 and just score.
Yeah, for Montreal, I actually picked defenseman Brett Kulak. He's 27, so he's in his prime. He's another depth defenseman, fit into that bottom pair, maybe like your 4th-team man if you really need it, but this team shouldn't need it. He should definitely be in your bottom pair rotation guy. He's really solid. He's played well for the Caps. The Canadiens. He played 40-something games for them this season. And like I said, he's in his prime. He's cheap. He's only $1.8 million. And I was a little weary of Drouin. I feel like every team he's been to, he's had issues with. He had some injury issues recently over the past year or whatever. So I was a little weary of Drouin. I feel like it wouldn't be good to bring him into that locker room and whatnot. So I went with the depth defenseman.
So John Cena showed up. Total off topic. Cena's, yeah. I mean, we was backstage. So
wait. John
yeah,
Cena just showed up?
John Cena just showed
I
up.
thought it ended.
It did, but then I haven't been on Twitter in like 30 minutes, and Cena. I saw what the top couple of tweets were talking about it. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Cena was supposed to show up. So that happened. Where are we at? Oh yeah. Speaking of trash, some more trash. The next two picks, the Detroit Red Wings. Sorry, I didn't want to shit. I don't know why I shit on John Cena. He's okay. I went Troy Stetcher, young defenseman, cheap contract, good trade chip, right shot defenseman as well. So you never have enough good right shot D.
I went with Evgeny Svechnikov, just the guy that could maybe slot in that bottom six. He's been struggling in Detroit. He hasn't really lived up to it quite a bit. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't definitely, I think, been what they expected him to be or wanted him to be. So maybe just a change of place. He's a young guy. He's an RFA. So maybe something could work out with him in Seattle. Detroit really didn't have much that I really liked. So I thought Svechnikov was a pretty safe pick that maybe had some sort of upside, hopefully, with a young guy.
Sorry, I was just vibing with John Cena.
John Cena.
So yeah, again, Troy Stetcher. Again, I went Stetcher, just went defenseman. You went Svechnikov.
Yes.
It's all good. Again, if we're talking trash, then Buffalo Sabres fans, what's up? I went Cody Eakin.
I was thinking about Cody Eakin.
I needed center depth. I just needed center depth, so I went with Cody Eakin.
You went with the forward. I went with the defenseman this time. I never even heard of this guy. I just picked him because he was young. He was an RFA. William Borgen. No idea who he is. Can't say a word about him. That's who I picked.
AHL filler. There you go.
Defenseman. The AHL filler.
AHL filler. That's get a pick. If this was your injury, fourth line filler, have a pick. So far, the only guy that's been revealed from the Florida Panthers, last team in the Atlantic. We both have Chris Driedger because that's the only pick that's been officially revealed. Driedger was supposed, I think, from Elliot Freeman has said that that's who they want. That's who their goaltender is going to be. So really can't say much if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Contract that they're supposed to.
Yeah, they will get him signed to our easy UFA. Though we'll get his deal done. Let's move into the Central, I believe. Hopefully I'm getting this right. Colorado Avalanche, the defending President's Trophy winners, the participation trophy winners. I go JT Compter. Solid third liner, kind of a bigger hit, $3.5 million. But again, just a solid bottom sixer. Again, and maybe a trade chip once the freeze is over. Really got like couldn't take Landy, but
I think I picked the other guy. It's either Compher or the guy that I picked, Donskoy, third liner guy. Basically similar cap. I think Donskoy is 3.9, so a little bit more. But only 2 years. I don't know what Compher's is. But yeah, another third line guy should slot in nicely in that third line. If they keep him, if they don't, maybe they'll get something from him, whatever it is, But yeah. Donskoy was my pick.
What the fuck? Okay. Why'd I turn it off? I forgot he was showing up. Minnesota. Oh god, here we go. Let's see. Can I say his name correctly? Capo Kakkonen, or whatever the hell his name is. Kakkonen. Kakkonen, goaltender. Needed a backup goaltender. His low cap hit. I mean, nothing really wrong with that. I mean, you could have went bigger with your backup goaltender, but for me, you could have him and Kincaid battle for the backup spot with Driedger.
Yeah, for me, actually, Kakkonen was my third goalie. We haven't said my starting goalie. Yep. Not starting. More like a 1A, 1B situation with Driedger. But yeah, so Kakkonen I also picked, but he's my third goalie who will probably take that backup role in a year or two.
Bro, did Cena just show up, say hi to the fans, and walk out? I'm fucking weak. Besides the point.
Doesn't make sense.
He just walked, an invisible man just walked into the ring.
It's the WWE. It's the WWE. I don't know what you expect.
Yeah, AEW stays on it. I'm going to get marked. Let's go to Nashville, which they were a weird team in the expansion. I think the first team ever to protect 5 D-men. So leaving out some quality players from Nashville. Who did you go with?
This is the only really bad and questionable choice. Bad contract, questionable choice that maybe I made, but maybe not so questionable. I don't know. I picked Shane. I figured he could slot as a number 1 center. He was on pace for 50 points the past 2 seasons, so $8 million is a little bit of an overpay for 50 points. But if we can get, he's 30. If you can get that for the next 3 out of his 5 years, then you have 2 years of really bad that's really not worth $8 million. Right now, he's probably worth like $6 million or so. So $2 million of an overpay isn't awful. Definitely an overpay. And like I said, if you can get value out of him for the next 3 years or 50 points, then I think it's worth it. And for a guy to be your first line center when there really was no clear cut other option to be picked over him.
I mean, I'm going to totally disagree with you because he's not the best center available.
I know you.
It's my boy.
Who's the best?
Obviously, there's one he's younger. It's Mikael Granlund, most underrated player on the Nashville Predators. Yeah, I'm saying it. Pending UFA.
He's not going to be number one. He's not going to be number one, Mr. Domi.
He's not my number one. We got Domi. But I like depth.
Yeah, because Domi's a real number. You even just said Domi's not a number one center.
But if I can't get a true number one, I take depth. I take good, solid depth.
I have
you don't got nothing.
Right now, my centers are Duchesne, Domi, and Kerfoot. That's pretty damn good. I haven't even told you about my fourth line center, who's another pretty solid pick.
I already said mine.
I actually
said I needed centers. Besides the point. I will Mikael Granlund. Yes, he's a pending UFA, so that's maybe kind of a scary thought to see, signing a UFA because you don't have the rights, unlike an RFA.
Well,
but
actually,
I do think
actually,
I know you can negotiate. I know you can negotiate. Yes, but
yeah, they're negotiating right now. They don't agree with it. They can pick someone else. And that's not a solid thing. So
I am again. This is me GM. So Mikael Granlund would get signed.
I'm just clarifying.
Okay. So, but yeah, Mikael Granlund, good, solid, offensive player. Had a great year in what was it, Minnesota? Minnesota. He was playing, and then he was traded over to Nashville. But again, solid player, good center, nothing bad. Here we go. We get to some interesting stuff here with the St. Louis Blues. Will Jimmy take the big goal-scoring winger from Russia?
No. I took Vince Dunn to lead the defense. Him and Pedersen would probably be my top pair in my opinion. And then I didn't take Tarasenko. I felt like it was a little bit too risky. He hasn't really been quite what he was. He had the botched surgeries and whatnot. And I feel like even if you get him as a trade chip, I feel like there was any real value there. St. Louis would have traded him before the roster freeze. With that being said, that's actually part of the reason why I picked JVR, because I figured JVR was maybe the more consistent, reliable option, where Tarasenko was a riskier option. You could have gone either way. Just Tarasenko, in my opinion, was a little more risky, so I went with JVR.
I don't know if this is
done on St. Louis.
Yeah. A little bit. I guess this isn't really big breaking news, but from Sorelli, it appears unlikely that Larson's going to resign in Edmonton, and he adds that it's a real chance that Tyson Barrie resigns in Edmonton. So I think he left.
I'm actually, as in the middle of this, I'm also getting info on Tarasenko real quick.
Before I tell you, what is the information? Because I'm about to talk about Tarasenko. What do you got?
Okay, word on the street is that Seattle will take Tarasenko and then flip him to Philly.
Oh, God.
Just what we need in the Metro, especially if he ends up turning out to be, the Tarasenko of old.
Dude, how many big money deals are they going to have? JVR, Voracek, freaking...
That's the word right now. That's the word right now. Seattle takes Tarasenko, then flips him to Philly.
Well, I'm not going to trade him to Philly, but I am going to take Vladimir Tarasenko. Again, this could be kind of like my big name jersey seller guy, like kind of how Fleury was, and maybe he could be the MVP if he gets back to stays healthy. Has that potential to pot 30 goals. Again, this is just kind of the big name to sell some jerseys, to get some butts in the seats. It's kind of it is, and I'm not trading him to Philadelphia because how the hell does Philly have cap space?
I'm actually kind of curious.
I'm looking this up. You go, but move on to the Winnipeg Jets. Who do you got? I think we both have the same guy because I think it's been leaked who they're taking. But
Dylan DeMello.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong. He fits into your top four perfectly, whether it be the top pair, second pair, depending on who you got. That's a no-brainer. I think they really basically said they're taking it. Like,
how the fuck do they have cap space?
They have 9.3.
They have 9. How the hell do they have $9 million with Couturiers? Couturiers on broke deal.
Chances are they are going to lose either JVR or Voracek in that trade, or they're going to get taken, whatever it may be. So
David is here, and yes, you just missed it, Dave. We were talking about how an invisible man came running down to the ring and looked at the fans and looked at Roman Reigns. Yes, that joke is never going to get old. Again, Dylan DeMello here. It's been, again, kind of like how Chris Driggers was leaked. DeMello, good, solid defensive defenseman. 100%, just good pick. I liked him. I wanted him on the Pens when he was a free agent, but Winnipeg paid him pretty well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Dallas Stars, who were snake bitten with injuries. And who do you have taken?
Here, I picked as my 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it, with Drieger for the first season or two, just so he can finally pick up that starting role because he's very limited in Florida. Ben Bishop, he's on a 2-year deal. He's got 2 years left. I know he's been injury riddled, but that's what you expect of him. I don't expect him to play a full season, so that's why I said like a 1A, 1B with Drieger as he assumes that starting role over the next year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Ben Bishop. Obviously, I rushed to Kincaid because I thought I didn't have an extra goaltender, but I just didn't want to take that contract, and I also didn't know how much cap space I would have. Before I took Blake Coleman, again, bottom six forward. Kind of has a bigger contract. I didn't realize how big his contract was, $2.4 million as a fourth liner. I don't love that, but it's a solid, I guess, bottom sixer. Go to Arizona, which seems nothing ever good happens in Arizona with hockey, at least, and in baseball. They suck. Nothing good happens in Arizona, period. I went Christian Fischer, good depth. Again, more depth, young, 24-year-old forward, $1 million cap hit. I think that's 2 years left, so again, it's kind of a cheap deal. Maybe if you want to put him in your bottom six or in the AHL, solid player.
I took Edge with Lab.
Why?
Just kidding. I took Fischer.
Okay.
Same reason. Young could fit in the bottom.
Bro, I would take that contract on if I got 2 first-round picks and I don't even know. Not taking that contract off. Why?
Speaking of contracts, like apparently Montreal and Seattle were talking, but the league stepped in and completely stopped it because apparently Montreal and Seattle were talking about Seattle taking Carey Price, retaining some of his salary, and trading him back to Montreal for like a bunch of picks. And the league stepped in and said, no, you can't do this, all right? What Tampa did is good, but what that is illegal. You can't do that.
Now they're going to step in and care about the cap space. Yeah, you're a little late for that. But you let the Astros hockey version, let them win a cup. The best part, this was in the chat, so you got to love this. As we shitting on every – that's right, you didn't say it. Yeah, that had that on the chat. Yeah, that was in the chat before. All right. Finishing off, let's go to the Pacific Division. I think Arizona wasn't the Pacific.
No. They're in the Central now.
They're in the Central now? Okay. Edmonton Oilers, again, another one of those big disappointments like the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had the best player in the league, and they still suck. Who did you go with?
Oh, man. Where is he? I don't even see him on my team.
God, get organized, my guy.
Get organized. Go first. I can't find him. Why can't I find him?
Again, I went more depth.
I found him. I found Dominic Cahoon. I don't know why it was like going over my head. Whew. I picked Dominic Cahoon. I figured he could fit into the bottom six. Yeah.
Maybe now that changes my pick because I didn't think Cahoon because everyone was saying Cahoon would be protected. I had to take Devin Shore again, more depth. I didn't think would be available, but Cahoon would have been the good pick if I would have known. Go to San Jose if you want to talk about bad teams and big contracts like the Philadelphia Flyers. I think San Jose says, hold my beer. Who'd you go with?
Wait. We finished Essential and we didn't talk about Chicago?
I did that. I realized that at the end. I was like, missing Chicago. Yeah. I guess if you want to go Chicago, who'd you go with?
Actually, I'll go Chicago and San Jose because they kind of fit together. Yeah. For Chicago, I picked Adam Gaudette, and then for San Jose, I picked Dylan Gambrell. I figured they could both fit in as like my potential fourth line center. Bottom six guys. They're both young, both very promising. Gaudette has pretty solid defensive numbers, so he could be another guy, strong guy you can put out there at the end of the games, whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, so Gaudette and Gambrell were for Chicago and San Jose.
I mean, Chicago, they're really forgettable. I went Nikita Zadorov. I did go Zadorov. Put him on the top 4 defensemen for the Blackhawks. And for the San Jose Sharks, I went Matt Nieto. Again, guy, filler, trade chip, bottom sixer, yeah. Really. I want to be Vegas and just trade him for picks. That's just me. Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks, big decisions with Marcus Pettersson, Elias Pettersson, and Quinn Hughes, also a RFA, with a ton of big money deals. Who did you go with from Vancouver?
Another young potential depth forward, Matthew Highmore, 25, league min, cap hit, a guy that could fit in on your AHL or bottom six, injuries, whatever. So yeah, Matthew Highmore is my pick. Not much to say about him.
Yeah, kind of like how I took what was this? Where is it? Curtis Lazar. I've always liked this guy. I've always wanted the Pens to trade for this guy because I think he just again in the right system. I think he could be valuable. I took Jake Virtanen.
Yeah, that's
Guy,
another guy I was considering. It was either
guy,
him or Jake Virtanen.
yeah, guy who's always in trade discussions and just kind of just needs to get out of Vancouver. Uh, Good guy. Again, put him in the top six. Oh, not top six. In the AHL in the bottom six, maybe a trade chip if you don't see his value. Let's move to Anaheim. Team that got snake bitten in the last expansion draft. Who you losing there?
Hayden Fleury.
Yeah.
Another young defenseman. You know?
Yeah, it's, I mean,
All said it before. At this point, I think almost every pick at this point is just depth guys that could maybe slot in or be traded or, you know.
yeah, potential. Yeah. I also have Hayden Fleury. Guy top pick, top prospect, has the potential. Bottom AHL or worst case. Trade chip. Yeah. Calgary could be a potential captain moved.
Oh, you went with that, did you now?
No, I didn't. I went the younger version. Olivier Killington.
It's Oliver Shillington.
Shillington. I know what the fucking hockey players. Weird ass names, and they're spelled right. You know, you say it, but you don't say it right. RFA, younger defenseman.
I don't know. Just say Shillington.
Could have said, you know, Mark Giordano, the captain, could have, you know, but I just want the younger version of Mark Giordano, but not quality of Mark Giordano.
Personally, I was Shillington, but I could very well see them picking Giordano, honestly.
Yeah,
and then just, you know,
face of the defense. Yeah.
Other people's below them to trade, whatever. Like,
yeah,
I could very much see them picking Giordano in real life.
Finally, the last team that we will pick from, the Los Angeles Kings. Who did you go with to finish your roster?
There wasn't much here. You're gonna laugh at me for the pick that I made.
Okay.
I went with Brendan Lemieux.
Yeah, I mean that's an option. I mean it was him or the other guy for me, and I went more offensive, young potential winger. I went Carl Grundstrom, former Toronto Maple Leaf prospect, traded for Jack Campbell. I actually have him in my bottom six on the third line. I thought this kid had a lot. Yeah, Lemieux was you could have went either way with, you know, some grit and sandpaper and annoying pest.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, I was left with $20 million for them to spend with either the RFAs and UFAs they have on the roster and also going into free agency. Jimmy, you had how much left?
I had 10.5, I think, about 10.2. 10.2.
10.2. Going over the lines, did you set this up or are you too busy to do the lines?
No, I did the lines.
Oh. We'll let you. What is your top line for your forwards?
Forwards, I have Palat on the left wing, Duchesne down the middle, and JVR on the right.
I went Andres Johansson, Max Domi, and Vladimir Tarasenko.
What a crap first line.
What, you want to fight?
Johansson is like a middle six guy. He's not a star.
Hey, I could have went Drew in, but I wanted to spread out the speed throughout my lines. Second line, I went there's Drew in. There's Mikael Granlund, Jordan Eberle.
I went Bailey, Domi, and Dadonov.
I forgot you have Dadonov. You have the same birthday as Owen Powers, potential number 1 overall pick. Nice. So I wish I don't have any good. I have a couple of players, Mets, but crap Mets related to. Your third line, I went with Zucker, Kerfoot, and then there's Carl Grundstrom.
Me, I went Cahoon, Kerfoot, and Donskoy.
Yeah, I probably would have put Cahoon on the third line right wing, but I didn't think he'd be available. And in the fourth, I kind of hated. I went Blake Coleman, Cody Eakin, and Curtis Lazar.
I went with Hagelin, and then Gaudette or Gambrel, whichever fits better, and Gauthier from the Rangers. So again, that's another guy that could be swapped out for depending on what you kind of want, you know.
Yeah, and again, you have some youth if you want to go youth. You also have some vets if you want to go vets. D pairings, I went Ghost and DeMello, Zadorov, Jensen, and then Hayden Fleury reached as the lefty against Troy Stetchen.
I went Dunn, Pedersen, Butcher, DeMello, and then Bean and Lauzon.
I thought about putting Bean, but I went Fleury because he's got a little more NHL experience. And then, like you have in the cage, I have Drieger and Cacoon, and then Ken Cad as the third. Asparagus.
Coon and Kincaid.
Cacoon and Kincaid.
I have Bishop and Driga as a 1A, 1B, and then I have Kakinen as the third, probably sliding it back up in a year or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Obviously, all the rest will be extras or traded. So, I guess we should do some cleaning up, as I always seem to do. If you guys watched all the way through, I appreciate it. If you care, put in the comment section whose team is better. Obviously, we'll come back to this in a little. Obviously, mine, because I have Vladimir Tarasenko. That's it. Channel update. I guess we'll do some spring cleaning here. This is going out today. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to get out the Mets. I am late on the Mets trade deadline prediction. I might record that tonight. It's early here. It's 11 o'clock. I might jump off here and then maybe I'll record that depending on how I feel. Also, on Tuesday, we officially announced the Meadowland Madness show on Big Apple Banter Media, as he changed his channel. Me and Elias are going to be doing that on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So that'll be over there. We'll be comparing who are the better teams, the Jets or the Giants. And then that will be a weekly football show. I think we're going to alternate channels every week. That'll be a Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Obviously, Mets Weekly will be on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And 7 o'clock, it's going to be on Tony Metro's channel. Other content, obviously, if the Mets decide to make a move, or the fuck was that? If the Mets decide to ever make a trade after escaping Pittsburgh with a win in that series that I don't want to talk about, that's gonna. If the Mets decide to make a move, they'll get an individual move. I will probably do an overall Seattle reaction to the roster. Jimmy, if you want to be there on Wednesday after the draft, you can come on. We'll discuss that and what their actual roster look like, and then obviously once the off season can start, that content's coming. Again, more football content's coming. Obviously, using MetLife Madness is also kind of our podcast version. Maybe some NFL moves and signings. Obviously, the MLB trade deadline is in 11 days, so hopefully soon some trade gets moved. Maybe I'll come out with some more content. So thank you guys for. Oh, he left. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe. We're getting close. We hit over 200 subscribers. We want to get to 500 by the end of the season. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.